Hi, today we're going to make a wall hook for your gardening gloves and tools. Hi, I'm Myra with Boutique Paint. Thank you for joining me. So we're starting out, this is an 11 by 1/2 inch board, and I've already went ahead and painted it in Fancy Farm Girl. I'm going to be using this inlay from the Millage paint inlay set. I hope I'm saying that right. But I'm only going to be using the bottom of this. So I cut the board to fit, and I have a little bit of overhang because since this has a sharp line, I wanted it to be past the board. So we're going to go ahead and just get this cut out. So you can cut this out if you don't like the little lines. Go ahead and cut cut down past those. I'm not minding those in the least. I think it's just going to add that much more character. I'm cutting the edge off this. This isn't a necessary step, but I figured it would make it easier visually when I went to set it down, since I'm trying to get it right on this line. So second coat on. And we're going to be generous with this. This is a pine board, and so it's unfinished, therefore the paint just kind of wants to suck in. So I'm going to be probably a little bit more liberal than normal as far as the paint coverage because of that. I don't want this to dry super fast while I'm trying to get, and you can see it's already drying. We can see there it's already drying. So what I'm doing is I'm just putting on kind of a second coat of it over the still wet coat, because it just does want to soak it up. All right, let's get this on there before it dries on us. Lining up the bottom. Looks pretty good. And then before I get it wet, I think I'm going to take my IOD silicone blade and just kind of roll out, making sure I don't have any bubbles. Looks like I have a little bit of bubbling there, but overall not bad. Now this will sometimes texture what you're working on. It'll texture up the paint, and that's okay. It's just gives the whole thing more character, especially if you put on a lot of paint than it, like I just did. So it'll be interesting to see how ripply we get. Just embrace it. In other words, don't worry about it not being a perfectly smooth surface, especially on a project like this. All right, so next, what we want to do is we want to get this wet. And normally I'd spray it with my spray bottle, but that seems to be in the house, not out here. Not very convenient. So I'm just taking a wet paper towel, and I'm just gonna go over the whole thing. And you can see how it's changing. That's what you want the look. And then at this point, we need to just leave it alone and let it dry. So now what we want to do is we want to spray it. And yes, I got my water bottle out of the house. Makes it so much easier. And then what I want to do is I'm going to take the paper towel and I'm just going to kind of dab that, but also making sure that every spot is wet. And what that does is it activates the paint on the paint inlay. And then we can pull it back. And this is always the fun part. Look how beautiful that is. Gorgeous. Now you want to, there's extra sheets in your paint inlays that are just blank. So just lay it down on one of those sheets with the paint side up and let it dry. And that way it'll be ready for the next time you want to use it. So next what I want to do is I'm going to paint the edges with some weathered wood. So I got the weathered wood. I'm going to just dip the brush in there. And then I'm just going to push. But just so I'm getting a little bit of edging. And then you can go in and fill in where you missed on the side. And this is not a perfect line. This is just a very natural freehand. Otherwise, you could tape it off and do this. But you can see it just kind of bleeds over just a smidge. Just gives it a little extra. So next I'm going to add a little crackle with this stamp. And this stamp is no longer available, so if you don't have it, the Vintage Textures stamp you could use for this part. It has just a small version of this. And I'm going to use Stone Gray because I feel like the Stone Gray will match the colors that I'm using in this. So I'm just going to kind of line it up because I'm going to put it over the entire thing. Go to the edge a little bit. And you don't necessarily have to go heavy with this. You can just go light. You just set it down. Nope, and I didn't go all the way to the edge. And we're just gonna lightly tap because we don't need it to be super heavy. Lift straight up and see how pretty that just kind of adds to it. I'm going to do a little bit more up here at the top because I didn't get all the way up there and I just feel like it needs a little extra. So I'm not going to ink it again. There we go. Let me lift that up so you can see it a little closer. But it just adds a little something. So next what we want to do is we want to clear coat it with something. I think I will do wax on this. You could do Big Top if you prefer. So I'm going to just use a little bit of the clear wax. And remember, this will dry back to the color that it originally was. And don't forget to get the edges. These are the hooks I want to use. But you can use whatever, tickles your fancy too. And you'll probably want it to go with whatever color scheme you're doing. And so we want to grab our ruler here and a pencil. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do it 2 inches off this edge and 2 inches off this edge. And so what this edge is going to line up to my mark right there. And so for doing something like this, I find it's easier to start the screws by drilling a hole that's smaller than the screw. It just kind of helps guide you. If you feel confident in just going for it, do it. So I just marked it, and it's very hard to see where I marked it. But also because I'm this close to the edge, if I put the screws in there without drilling a pilot hole, what's going to happen is I will split the wood. This will actually split out. So that being said, I might actually raise this just a smidge so that I am not that close to the edge, because I did not take that into consideration when I placed it there. So let's mark this one a little bit higher. So if you're having a hard time seeing the pencil lines, you could do one of two things. You could either use a Sharpie to mark it, because it's going to go away, but you do want to make sure you know where you're putting this, so that if you change your mind, you don't have Sharpie marks. Or you can just do it this way. Then you can go ahead and just drill while holding it, and just try to get it somewhat in the center. And you're not going down super far, because the screws just plain and simply are not that long, and you're just wanting to get it started. All right, so this is the length of the screws for these, and that's something you need to take in consideration too. If you buy some hooks and the screws that come with them are super long, you may want to pick up then something shorter. All right, we got the screw tip in now, so we'll just get the screw ready. If you don't have a screw gun, or a drill motor, I should say, you can do all of this by hand, and you don't have to drill the holes. But that being said, make sure you are away from the edge, because you do not want to split the wood. So I went ahead and waxed this. Now we're going to put these little guys on the back as holders for the back, so you can hang it on the wall. And because these come up a ways, I'm going to go down an inch, and I'm going to go over an inch. And then you're done. That's the whole thing. But I think it turned out just beautiful. If you have any questions about any of the products I used, you can go to our website at www.boutiquepaint.com. And thank you so much for joining me. See you next time. Bye.